Okay, so Bruce and I have been talking about how there's been some people that have come onto my channel and have asked me, Rents, how do I save tires? How are you so good at the end of the long run? Well, this video should hopefully help explain a little bit of that. It's going to be a little bit nerdy, but we're going to dive into some of the things that I look for at a track. When I go to different tracks, when I do oval racing. Now, some of you guys might be new to NASCAR oval racing on iRacing, or maybe you're a veteran of the service, but you don't understand exactly how to get the most out of your runs. Maybe you're someone who burns their stuff early, and then you're struggling later in the run going, how am I getting passed left and right by all these people? So, hopefully in this video, this can help. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys want me to do another tutorial video, NASCAR tutorial video on iRacing about tire saving. This is kind of one of the first videos that first racetracks that I've thought of for this video was, why not do Auto Club? We were just there back in December, January-ish, in the off season, and we did really, really well in the Xfinity series. So this is the video for that. I'm going to jump over right now and I'm going to explain some very critical things to you guys for fixed setup NASCAR racing. This should help you in the areas that you can adjust things with in the garage of a fixed setup. So the steering and all of that, and then we'll look at the tires themselves so you understand that. So I'm gonna let myself take that away, and then we'll come back and then we'll get ready to show you everything with that. So let's hop into the garage area. Now remember, this is for fixed setup only, and I think the first thing that we should start with is the most important part: how to set up your car. All you have to do is look at the top left of your garage where it says front. In a fixed setup, ballast won't be able to be used, and tape configuration won't be able to be used, as well as everything else. The only things that you can change on a fixed setup are steering ratio, steering offset, and front brake bias. Those are the three most important things for a fixed setup, because they're the only three things that you can change. So, if we look at the steering ratio, you can see that it's at 12-1. That's where the default is. Many people run 12-1. I ran 12-1 for a long time. I ran whatever the default was. But you can change that to your driving style and preference. And let me stop by saying this point right here, right now. Just because something works for me doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. I've been doing this for a long time to kind of understand what my preference is. It's all based on personal preference. You are the one that needs to feel the most comfortable behind the wheel. So, just because whatever I recommend works for me, you might need to play around with it to see what works for you in your comfort. For me, I put my steering ratio at 16-1. Why? Because I use a lot of wheel. If you ever see me drive into a corner on my stream, you'll know that my elbow gets up in the air a little bit on my right side, and I'm able to just kind of manhandle the car for a bit. I like being up on the wheel. I like being able to turn the car without having, to use as minimal input on the wheel as possible. 16-1, that's just going to give me more play. I'm going to be able to turn the wheel a little bit more. It's going to be a little slower response. It's going to be less twitchy. So for me, if I were to do 16-1 on the steering ratio, I would at least have the control of not having the front end be so darty. So, and then if that's also the case, if I do something like, let's say, 10-1, that means that I want a little bit more of a twitchier front end. That means that I don't want to turn the wheel as much, and I just want to make simple, minimal movements. That's the rant on steering ratios. Steering offset, I don't really touch. Only just because it's where your center of the wheel is going to be. You can move it to the right, which is going to be positive. So if you don't want to turn the wheel down the straightaway, you can do that, because a lot of the time you're turning the wheel to the right on the straightaway. So you can kind of get rid of that, but which means you're going to have to turn the wheel maybe a little bit more on the entry of the corner, or the corner itself. Subsequently, you could also go to the negative side of the steering offset, which means that you're not going to have to turn the wheel as much in the corners. But you're going to have to turn the wheel a lot more on the straightaway to keep it going in a straight line. But you're not going to have to turn the wheel as much entering the corner and through the corner. But that all depends on your steering offset with your steering ratio. So, it depends on your driving style. Really depends on your driving style. The third and final thing that you can change here is your front brake bias. And this is critical for me, especially in the trucks. Xfinity, I play around with it even to this day. I don't really have a number, but I'm looking for something in the rear of the vehicle, something that's not going to be so front brake heavy. The reason for that being is the right front tire is the most important tire on the vehicle for me. The way that I drive these cars, I'd much rather be on the right rear than be on the right front. So if it's the truck, it's about 58% brake bias. We'll probably do a truck video sooner or later. If it's the Xfinity car, I'm normally 62% brake bias. But again, I'm going to stress that that is complete user preference for me. Not gonna say that it's going to work the same for you. So let's go to the second box, which is equally as important when it comes to understanding tires themselves. Now, iRacing goes by the heat of the tire. The hotter the tire, the less tread you're going to have remaining, the less life you're going to have remaining on your tires, the less grip you're going to have. So the hotter the temperature rises, the worse it's going to get. The most important tire on a NASCAR vehicle is the right front. The most important tire on a NASCAR vehicle is the right front. It is what's going to help you get out of the corner. That tire is going to be the make it or break it for you, either in a short run setting or a long run setting. The left side tires don't normally wear as much. That's why I say don't worry about them. They don't wear as much as the right sides. The right sides are going to be a little bit more abused because the car rests more on the right side with the right side weight. The way that the sidewall is constructed for the right side tire is a little bit different. The camber that is used might be a little bit more aggressive. So it all depends on the setup. It all depends on, what's going on with the setup, but you can do a lot with a fixed setup that you don't have any control over fixing or changing. All you can do is just drive differently. It's an important number in gauging the tire life, either in a pit stop, or maybe you've just done a quick little run and you wanted to see how you look. So you come in and you look at the tires and you might not know which percent to look at. Look at the middle percentage in your tires, both right front and right rear. Now, to understand what that middle number is, you have to also understand that we've talked the right front for so long, but the right rear also means something as well. The right front means that you can get a turn off the corner. You're not going to be plowing off of the exit of the turn. The right rear will help you in the sense of being able to turn out of the corner without being too loose, like the car wants to step out and wreck on the exit. Issue where if you wear the right front tire out, you're going to push off the corner, you're not going to be able to turn. If you wear the right rear out, you're not going to be able to have enough throttle off the corner because you're going to be scared that you're going to crash the car because it's going to be so loose. Now, for the center numbers, the reason why they're so important compared to the left numbers, which are the insides, or the right numbers, which are on the outsides, is because that center number is the centermost contact point of the tire. You're going to get the most heat out of it, you're going to get the most wear out of it, and you're going to understand, okay, that's the number. The more you slide, the more the tires are going to heat up, because that's what friction does. If you rubbed your hands together, like I'm doing right now, eventually they're going to heat up and they're going to be warm. That's friction, just like a race tire being on an asphalt track like Auto Club. That is what we're talking about with tires, and you'll see as the run goes on in this video what I'm talking about. So enough of me yammering and blabbering. Let's go to the video. All right, everybody, welcome to the first example of saving tires and trying to win the race or get a good finish out of it. We are at Auto Club Speedway, my home track. We're just coming back up to a restart right around lap 5, so you can kind of chalk it up to beginning of the race, if you will. We're about 5 laps into the race. The green flag is out. We're in 4th position, and we're already going to start thinking long run mode. We're already going to start thinking, if this race goes long, how are we going to approach it? Did you just notice that that tied car on the bottom lane and the number 6, the black number 6, both pulled away from me in the center of the corner in turn 1? They got back to the throttle a lot sooner. Their mentality is, let me get to the lead right now and let me dominate this race in clean air. They aren't thinking long term, they're thinking short term. And as you're seeing off the corner, there goes the 4, there goes the second place driver and the number 6. There's a blue car up there, that's the leader. That is burning, they're all burning their tires right now. Here comes another guy passing us, the number 10. All right, go on by. My mentality is simple. You're not racing them, you're racing the track. We've now fallen back to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6th at the moment. This right front tire needs to be able, as we get passed by the 15 who is in a hurry to go nowhere, that right front tire needs to be able to bite off the corner, turn off the corner still, and get you down the straightaway. And remember this, everybody. The race is never won on the entry of the corner. It is won on the exit. As the 15 kind of makes a mistake, this is what I'm talking about. He's going to pull away from me again, but I wasn't even pushing to be underneath him. There's the start-finish line. Very doable to win this race. Okay, so now here's something that I wanted to show, just kind of as a still frame. Look at the gap all the way, and I just circled it right there. That's the leader. We're like on lap 14 or so, and the restart was lap 5. I've given up all of this time, and here's another example. Here's just 2 lines, and see how big the separation is. You're gonna have to sit down and really put some seat time into this. That's how you get faster. Seat time, seat time, seat time. And when you're doing seat time, look around and look at the steering ratio and play with that, or maybe play with this offset, or play with the brake bias. That's where you're supposed to play with it and try to figure it out. So, I have 15 years of sim racing experience. I've been doing this for a very, very, very long time. That being said, I know what I'm looking for. You might not know what you're looking for just yet, or maybe you haven't hit on the right feeling and you're just trying to figure it out still. So, play around with it. Alright, here is an example of over-driving your car and ruining your day. Ruining your day early. We're about halfway through the run right now. The number 4 is going for the race lead right here. But look how the car just stops turning in the center. He didn't back up his entry. He drove it in deep to try to pass the leader, and he hits the wall. So now, instead of being the leader off the corner, because he overdrove it, here comes 3rd, screaming right by. Here we come, right behind him, and we're going to set him up for a run down inside. We're going to run side by side with him. He's going to run the top. Now he's in crisis mode. You hit the wall with the right front. That generally means the car is going to get tighter, especially in the center. And right here, watch how we're going to get a run right on the exit of the corner. We're going to move right on up in front of the 4. He can't do anything. That damage has already been done. So coming to lap 25, of 32. We have run our way up into the top 3 by backing our corners up. We're going to do it again right here. But you're going to start to notice that the 14 is getting a lot larger. Entering turn 3, we're going to get off the throttle early. We're going to do a later arc entering the corner to get to the apex. And now watch the run off of turn 4. We've gotten to the throttle perfectly. We're going to get a massive run on the 14. 14's going to try to chase that Alpine-looking car to stay in his draft. And watch right here, entering turn number 1. We're going to let off the throttle early. The 14's going to go for the lead. He sent it down to the bottom. We wait for the car to tell us that it's ready to rotate down and take that later arc. Now we're going to get a great run down the back straightaway. We're side by side with the 14. Now I realize the 14's going to drive in deep, so I'm going to let off the throttle super early so I can drive myself underneath the 14 and get the car to rotate a lot better. Now we're going to get a run not only on the second place driver of the 14, but this number 93 Alpine car, we're on his inside already. We're going to go for a 2-for-1. And this is for the race lead. He tries to drive in deep, can't stay with us. We're able to rotate the center, and that's what it sounds like. That's exactly what it sounds like and looks like when you save tires. What I'm doing here is I'm sticking to my strategy. The one thing that you cannot do is deviate from your strategy. If you're going to go in, back up your corners and let guys go, so therefore that they can burn their stuff up, you cannot be baited by saying, oh, I'm losing way too much time. You've already made your bet. Continue on your path. In this case, I'm not even worried about that gap to the leader. You know why? Because I know they're burning their stuff up a lot more than I am. And when I flip the switch and I need to go, then that is when we'll start making our way up to the front. But right now, it's very important for all of you thinking like, I'm giving up so much time. It's going to come back. You just need patience. And what I mean by that's what it sounds like, I'm going to give you the leaders on board. Lap 26, he was in the lead. Lap 27, he's now lost the lead. I just want you to listen to the sound that you can really pick up on now that he's trailing me. Listen, there's going to be this squealing sound. It's a very important sound, and then I'll explain why. Did you notice it? So the reason why this is happening to the guy we're on board with is because that he's used his right front tire up so much. He's used this tire up so much in the early part of the race to have the lead and have control of the race to that point that he's overdriving the car. He's trying to force the car to do things now that the car doesn't want to do. The squealing sound is the tires sliding on the asphalt. Tires sliding on the asphalt is a big no-no if you're trying to save tires and go for a long run strategy like what I'm showing you here. If you squeal the tires, you're heating the tires. And if you're heating the tires, you're hurting the tires. You are hurting your grip. Remember, if you're sliding, that's friction. Friction is not what we want. We do not want sliding. We don't want to slide the vehicle. We don't want to hear the sound coming off of the car. So if you go to my onboard, notice a massive difference. did you notice how there wasn't any tire squealing and screeching? And I was able to go from the bottom of the track in a smooth line all the way tracking out to the wall, and I didn't have to get off the throttle. Because he overdrove the entry, because he was on the brakes a lot more, because he's using a lot more wheel into that corner to try to help his center of rotation, he played with the throttle too much, got back to the throttle way too early, didn't listen to the car, and then he had to play with the throttle on the exit because the right front tire didn't want to turn anymore. He abused that right front tire. That right there is the difference. That right there is the difference. And here we are, everyone, on the white flag lap. There's second place. Bye, second place. Don't even see you anymore. But that's what happens when you save your tires. If you take care of your equipment will take care of you. Look at that gap back to second. Remember what I said earlier. The race is not won on the entry of the corner. It's won on the exit of the corner. And we went from 7th and surged back to 1st because we looked after our tires, we were patient, and that pays off. It pays off.